whenever I'm giving you the history of a space, can you put that on mute whenever I'm kind of covering history? I thought it was muted too.
There you go.
That was probably my fault. But anyway, the keywords here would be 47, New York, Giants, anything relative to a bar, the name John. Hopefully you guys are getting the gist of this. So anyway, John used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. Well, one night, 2 guys came in, they weren't old enough to drink. He had the bartender throw them out, and they left pretty pissed off. They came back the next night and tried to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John saw what was going on, he slammed down his beer and goes over and just starts pounding on these guys, just beating the hell out of them. A couple of gunshots go off. John got grazed in the neck, but the bullet landed behind him in the wall. Being the only one that was shot, John was the only one that got up, and he goes back to the bar, he tells the bartender, get me another beer, go get those 2 guys an ambulance. Irony of the story, nobody dies in that piece of history. So what's haunting the place? By the way, if I tell you a building's haunted, you automatically think of some kind of tragic death that occurred there. What I'm trying to prove here is that the time that we're here, once I give you the history of the space, again, you're in a parking lot, so congrats. Is this where you were parked earlier, by the way?
I was over there, now I'm right here.
Okay, perfect. So we passed up your car. Everybody know where she's parked? We're going to break in later. Got it? Perfect. Got it. Perfect. So, sorry, I got jokes. You guys got to lighten up a little bit. Have some fun. By all means, hit those record buttons, but welcome to a parking lot. Congrats, you made it. So I told you, I'd take you to some weird spaces. The other tours, there's nothing to see here, obviously, for them. So, first off, all of you spirit box and communication device people, this is a space where I'm going to start withholding information on purpose. I'm not going to be giving you things to look for, like what color was George Washington's white horse. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes and or communication device that I'm going to call the Ouija board. So you guys get the point of this. This way everybody has a genuine experience. So this way you guys have to tell me every little thing that you're hearing, so that way I can see if it actually ties in or not. I know it's something that's going to sound silly, like, it was just a DJ. I know it was just a DJ. What the hell did a DJ say? So a lot of people just don't get that concept at first, so that's why I make that joke. But anyway, where are we? We're at the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion site. Their mansion actually used to sit in the front of this space. And then Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So that's the layout of the land. Who the hell were these people? Somebody lost their car. I can see Nate's face all lit up now. That's what you look like in the daytime. Cool. But anyway, a lot of people, when they go back to find my picture, they're like, you don't look anything. I'm like, yeah, you saw me at night. So, but anyway. But Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks. That's why we look for secondary clues. I need to know which Charles is coming through in the event that the name Charles actually came through. You guys are getting my point, I hope. So the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a big deal for us, but I hate politics probably more than Peyton does, so we're going to move on. So we're going to talk about Eliza, because she has a much better story anyway. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. I bring this up specifically because if you're going to ask her how old she was between the Spirit Box folks, you're not going to get numbers from the colonial times that she actually came from, like 12 and 14. Think of today's standards. What do you got?
Got a Q. HYQ.
HYQ. Yeah, a whole lot of nothing. Probably have the sensitivity down too low too. Again, there's things I'm going to have to show you about that. You're probably going to have at least 200 letters pop up out of there, just so you know, all night long.
I do have paranoia issues.
Maybe it's not a good thing I gave you that. But when you ask Eliza how old she was when she got married, again, it's not going to be 12 and 14. Think of today's standards, and the reason I bring that up is because her husband, Charles, was over double her age. So kind of a creepy age gap in the 1700s, creepy age gap now. Yes, wow, I was correct. I saw that. But anyway, she married Charles because her father was over in England, where she's from, and he thinks he's dying. He's trying to bring all his kids home one last time. Eliza didn't believe he was dying. So instead, she gets married. It's 1744. You don't get married in that particular year to get a green card. We're not a country yet. She did marry him out of love. There's no foul play, no affair, nothing like that. So please don't poke the bear. This is a prominent English woman. But anyway, she was right. Dad did not die right away. Instead, he started sending her gifts from England to where we're standing. One of those gifts happens to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least a day, you've seen the word indigo somewhere, I can guarantee it. That's a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. And now that we have lights on everybody, nobody's wearing it tonight. Neat. Normally I have at least one example. Amber, you failed us. You were supposed to wear jeans tonight. But anyway, that's how we use it. But when Eliza got her seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not hot here all the time. And she had to learn how to make the dye. When she did that, she moved it to a cash crop, got a hold of her dad and said, rice plantations are going downhill. We're going to make a killing with the indigo. And we now have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Something absolutely unheard of. So that's the boring business shit of Eliza. Let's get into the crazy stuff, because that's why you guys are here. So with each set of spirit boxes that are communication devices that are out here, I'm going to kind of give you a gist of questions to focus on. Keep in mind, don't get discouraged when you're not getting direct answers. You're asking a question, Amber can get the answer. So we never know where it's actually going to fall. Your TV shows and movies love to put up one spirit box at a time and hope and pray that they're going to answer through that. We have 3 video cameras, my voice recorder, 3 spirit boxes, and a Ouija board. It's going to come out somewhere. So that's just kind of how it works. If they're going to answer, we just don't know where it's going to come out. So when we do spread out in this location, we're going to stay away from vehicles, especially those with cameras, and we definitely don't go in between or in front of cars. Kind of limits our space tonight, but it looks like we're going to have one more car leaving, so we should open up a little bit. All right, so let's go with, let's see, where do we want to start? We'll start with yours, Nicole. So I'm going to go right to left tonight. With your particular, just want to make sure it's spinning. You're not spinning. What'd you do? You broke it already.
I broke it. I just touched the volume right here.
Yeah, you should be hearing it rotate.
Yeah, mine got a camera.
Station's moving.
I do.
Okay, that's what you do. Just happened to notice you had 87.5, which is the start of the FM rating.
Otherwise,
But anyway,
stuff
your
will
questions,
come through.
your focus questions are going to be Eliza's death
just
questions.
records myself.
By the way,
It doesn't
feel free to
record.
cherry pick off of anything else that I give. If you're going to go rogue, just make sure it's not a yes/no question and it's something we can prove. If you're going to ask anything about the slaves, I can't prove any of that. Trust me, I've dug and dug and dug. Eliza's death, how old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, what president was a pallbearer at her funeral.
Yeah.
So those are questions we commonly get the answers to. Those are going to be your focal questions once we kind of get moving around. Next spirit box, that's going to be Amber. So your spirit box, we're going to go with the children on this one, just because you're a mom. So we're going to go with that. I'm also going to ask you to please tread lightly. I don't always hand out this set of questions because this is where things can get temperamental with Eliza. We'll talk more about that before we leave. But 2 questions and 2 questions alone. How many children did she have? What were their names? That's it. There's a tragedy among those kids. If you start poking the bear, all activity stops. Matthew, have you seen anything come up there yet?
The highest was when we were walking under the power lines. It was like 7.3.
Okay. So when we're on sidewalks, our parking meters actually have electrical lines underneath the sidewalk, so it's going to make it go off. So you can ignore it. It's usually when we're in spaces like this where we're like, we're good. There's no electrical anything in here. Trust me. Tested it hundreds of times. So just don't poke the bear on that, Amber. And if you do, we're all going to know because we're not going to have anything else going on. So Nate, with yours, we're going to be looking for Eliza's initials. So again, I'm going to keep you and Matthew behind to explain your devices a little bit further. But Eliza's initials, the odd thing about that is that there's 2 different Elizas that we're kind of talking about here. Charles married 2 women, both named Eliza, back to back. First one dies in January, then he marries the one we just talked about 5 months later. Kind of a jerk move. But both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. So we have gotten ELP on that thing in that specific order because those are her initials. We just don't know which one it belongs to. There is another type of spirit box communication piece that we're not using tonight that will normally tell us which one it is, but lately it's definitely been the second one, which I still haven't told you guys what that is yet. So Sarah, with your spirit box, yours is going to be nice and simple as well. The mansion's not here anymore unless you can see it, because I can't. So you can ask what happened to it, and if you get the what, we normally get 2 or 3 numbers of the when for the date. So again, we've had all 3 numbers for the date show up along with what the tragedy was. I'm obviously giving you some type of clue of what actually occurred to it. So kind of keep that in mind. You may or may not get answers from anybody else's questions as well. I'm giving those simple questions to this one specifically because it's usually only going to give you 1 to 2 syllables at a time that you can fully understand because it's going to be in small bursts. So Nate and Matthew are going to stay behind with me. Everybody else is going to spread about. If you have a spirit box with earbuds, by all means share that earbud with somebody else that you came with so that way they can actually listen in with you. Some people aren't very good at this. It's okay. You've never done this before. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why we always have at least 1 recording. So everybody else, let's spread out. Nate and Matthew, stay back here with me and I'll kind of show you guys how to work those devices a little bit further.
I believe it was the first Liza because I know if something happened to her and I got with another Amber, that'd be scary as hell anyway.
I think she'd just be pissed.
Yeah. Well, she's already told me she wants me to die first. So.
I think all of our wives have told us that.
What did you want me to do?
Nice slow motion, help her listen.
Help.
That's why I gave the open air spirit box.
Help who listen?
Sarah.
Okay.
So
you want me to try to call out to anyone specific or?
Eliza is who we're going
Which
after.
Eliza?
The second.
The second one, is that Pickney?
Yes, they're both Eliza Pinkney.
Okay.
But you don't know the maiden names. I haven't said that.
Okay. I will try. He said he told you to go to the mansion. The mansion should be up here. Is that's not on mute?
Not anymore. It's not supposed to be.
Okay. Well, I think
Caroline's gonna make the EMF drop now. If it jumps a lot,
here.
you got an issue.
Okay. Well, he said something about he's tested it and there's no electrical in here because that's what he was saying. See, he told the little boy that the electrical does not affect that thing in here. It's perfectly still right here. But it keeps jumping. Eliza. My name is Caitlin.
There's a hole here.
Mom, will you come here? I have to be recording you.
So he's picking up the cars, the radio.
Eliza, can you hear me? I heard that you were very successful with your indigo business. That must have been incredible for you. Charles. Is that you?
Keep in mind that it was the overtime. The man was dressed.
Is that you, Eliza? You can come out. I feel you. Is there anything you'd like to tell us? Would you like to talk about what happened here at your home? Was your husband nice? inside. Do you love your home?
What happened here?
We just listen in our head. Okay.
Do you want to tell us?
Well, I just didn't know how it works better. Like,
What happened to your home? Tragedy happened to your home.
like I'm hitting one.
It went all the way up.
When did the tragedy happen? What year? What happened?
Did someone do it?
What happened?
Columbia. That's a city, that's our capital in South Carolina. So
That's
it's just
Columbia.
weird that you're hearing it down here. That's in the middle of the state.
Oh, Columbia. They heard Columbia.
All right.
So
What
it's not every word we hear though that comes through, right? It's because I hear a lot of stuff.
So if you're hearing something like, let's put it this way,
Like,
also a 50-50 shot. So if you hear like, go buy a Hyundai today,
Right,
obviously the word Hyundai's not going to mean anything.
No.
These people keep warning it.
yeah.
But again, if you hear like weird
Yeah,
things like
earlier I thought I heard something like one of the lyrics from one of the songs sounded like something like "Start a Fire" or something.
names and numbers,
Yeah, you can tell me. I haven't.
always great too.
I've heard radio. Just
I've been hearing some of the lyrics come through, and then one of the stations said 101.
and then I thought somebody said I'm
Yeah, you'll
pissed.
get the point. If it's a weird, odd
Really?
Might have been after I
Right
said
before
who
the
did
DJ
it.
started. Right before the DJ.
I don't know what lyrics it was, and then
grandfather, the thing, yeah, that was his main
And
thing.
this was
what
almost.
was one of those? What was one of the last 70 songs they played?
Like I said, you guys bring people with you all the time.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
we haven't had.
a famous
Right.
one.
So when I'm going through the data and I'm getting all of my notes,
Let me ask again. Ask her again when it.
radio, it might not be relevant.
When did the tragedy happen?
Well, it's so live because of this. It might just be this is just weird. It might be relevant to us. So it's just something that they don't know. So that's what I'm. Just things you wouldn't normally.
Right. Okay. Got it. Okay.
All right, you two. What do we got going on?
I was trying to hear.
I see some 15s going on there. That's cool.
It went all the way up
Well,
earlier. It might have been me.
Well, you don't have a device close enough for it, first off, to make it go off. Your camera does not have Wi-Fi, so it's not sending off a
I asked
signal.
the question, and Mom was like, "Don't poke the bear," but I said, "Who did it?" And that's when it went all the way up. That might have been my fault.
So we've already maxed out on that guy. Have we heard anything out of the spirit box?
We were asking about what happened, and I swear one of the lyrics sounded like something about a fire.
Here's your answer.
Yeah, it sounded like it said something about start a fire or
And
something.
right before I heard a radio station kick in, it sounded like somebody said, "I'm pissed."
And it did say one of the radio station, like the station numbers earlier, it was 101. It didn't start saying point anything, it just said 101.
Interesting. Okay.
And I
This
heard,
thing has been going off the whole
I
time.
heard you talking with her, talking about Columbia. We're from Columbia. We're actually from
That's
Columbia.
why I write this shit down. So.
I heard some other things I can't remember. Every time we've been asking it like when, though, I don't think we've gotten a direct answer, but it's almost like it's been. I swear that thing that like it sounded like it said 101 again, but it seems like it's almost playing like specific era like
Type music.
songs.
I get it. I get what you're saying. But again, if you guys are asking about the date, just keep in mind your camera. You're in a good spot. Let's get out of their way. Let's go over this way.
Her whole soft.
Yeah, I felt a lot of energy over there.
Oh yeah, I feel it just on my shoulder.
Oh well, I felt it in my back.
Shoulder blades.
I felt it in my back first.
We lose.
You got rods.
Connie and Nicole go.
I think they went towards the dumpsters.
Okay. Any other numbers on there, Matthew?
No.
So now you guys can see, like, it didn't actually stay put. It actually probably went to that 30 whatever and then dropped really down low. That was just somebody sweeping by you. If it was something man-made, it would stay at a steady 30 to 35, 30 to 35. It would stay within that bracket. So if you had a quick, like, and even that 40-something that you gave me, like, again, it probably went all the way back down to underneath 5, which is not a man-made object, for sure. So again, I expect those things around this location between 18 to 22. When we get above that, that's where I start getting excited. Amber, did you hear anything else coming out of there? By the way, that Columbia piece is relevant. We found out they're from Columbia. So again, sometimes you guys bring people, and that's kind of how things go. Might be a full conversation. It's only one piece at this point. Hopefully, you know, what's being recorded out of yours, you just missed something else. So it's kind of how that works.
There's always a piece to the puzzle.
Always. Have you guys heard anything else going on over there?
I mean, I don't know if it's anything of value, so.
That you know of. Remember, I'm withholding information. So
Yeah,
what have you heard?
She was obsessed. Well, I don't think she was. I heard obsessed with him.
Okay.
And I don't know, I just feel like pain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of onto something. Normally I would call it at this point, but let's do one more like quick little lap of when you guys spread out. I'll do one more round robin with everybody, and then I'll pull us all to the back and give you guys all the answers. I want to see if Matthew's device goes any higher than what he's already gotten. That's my main curiosity, to be honest with you. We've gotten some other like odd little things that you guys have heard, but I want to see if anything else is going to kind of tie and wrap things up. But yeah, let's do one more like spread out, and then I'll start pulling us to the back here in a minute.
And we were over there, so we can go this way.
There now.
You told me I'll do a lot of love.
Actually, I think I'm gonna ask them if that's where they were. Natalia. I remember one. Were y'all over here?
Yeah.
Okay. There's
What?
some energy over there too. If y'all
there?
wanted to go over there,
Okay.
you can feel it.
Yeah, that's.
That's the front, which is mainly where they would have stayed. Got here. It's possible, since this was the servant's quarters, that there's a servant obsessed with the man of the house.
coming out of there?
I can feel it.
So it's possible that there's a servant that was obsessed with the man of the house back in those
For
days.
like
It usually
we
was.
were theorizing before we did the first sweep that it was the first wife.
Uh-huh. My hair is standing up. All over my legs, all over my body, my arms.
Could be the trash. Unless there's someone here that wants to talk to
I
us.
hadn't gone off. I mean, my hair literally is on end.
Is Eliza here?
My name is Sarah. What happened here?
it just went.
Yeah, and I feel it. I mean, I feel like it's almost like heartache.
I feel like my chest tightened a little bit too.
What happened here?
The whole box just went completely silent. You feel it affecting you. Like you want to just
the wind
break down and cry.
It's like I'm shaking. I mean, I'm shaking.
You just feel like you want to just break down and cry.
Love. Cried. Crying. Love.
The house is what? No more. What happened to the house? Love? Yes. We heard there was a tragedy at the house. Was that love too, or did something else happen?
When did the tragedy happen? Make sure you put the camera around. Let's see.
I know it hurts to talk about, but it's okay. You can tell us.
When did the tragedy happen?
She said late.
I thought it said late. Was it at night? I think during the day, but it was late during the day. Was it late during the day? Was it an accident? Was the tragedy an accident?
All right, ladies, come on over. We're going to talk about
In that area, if I went back over there, I bet it would come right back. Like, I could feel it. I could feel.
anything else major that you two heard over there.
She's asking questions and come back with love and just it sound like whatever happened. The tragedy happened late.
He kept saying something about house is no more.
Okay, that makes sense here, doesn't it?
When I first
But
walked
I
over
don't
there,
think
all of
it
my
was
hair stood up, and I was
because
like, I was
of the tragedy. And when I asked about the tragedy, they said it was love.
So this will all make sense here shortly. So whenever we wrap up a space, I kind of break out the tablet, but I always like to kind of talk about what I'm excited about first. So most exciting thing I think that I'm excited about, obviously we have some direct emotion of they heard I'm here, and then the tears started coming, like literal emotion. started coming through. We did get all the
That
way up
area over there makes you want to just cry, like you can feel it squeezing your chest, like you just.
That one did over there for me.
Yeah, that like over there, I felt it in my back the second I got over there. But over there, it squeezed my chest, and you just felt like you just wanted to break down and
Remember
cry.
which portion of the land that you're on.
Yeah.
The slave and serving quarters back
That
there.
that person over there felt like more like they were in heartbreak than the person over there did.
And we both felt that at the same time. I mean, when I reached up and it just hurt, and when I went like this, she turned around and she said, "My heart just tightened."
Interesting. Those of you with cameras, if you want to stop your cameras to give your hands a break, by all means do so. I'm very excited about Matthew's readings. Let me explain what Matthew's device actually does, so you kind of get a gist of it. So, if you were to put that thing behind your TV set, play. Play. Interesting. You get anything back here on here? Yes. So, for those of you with cameras, when tourists start coming through here, they'll normally come either out of that ivy wall just behind you, or they'll start coming in from this end and kind of split the seas and let them go through. I always stop talking to let them go through. There might be actually somebody coming through now. But anyway, normally they'll go down about halfway. I like to stop here so we just stay out of their way. Alright, so nothing other. I got all this stuff because Matthew kept running up and telling me everything that you heard. You got dangerous territory. I wrote them all down, whatever he told me. So I didn't feel like there was anything super relevant on this space particularly. Did you get any letters back there?
Bunch of.
There's a specific set of initials we're looking for in here. So whenever we're in a new space, you go ahead and reset it so we have a nice fresh start. You're going to be specifically looking for the letters RI, and it's going to make a lot of sense here in just a minute. But welcome to Philadelphia Alley. So this used to be called Dueller's Alley because this is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. I say some because dueling was illegal at the time, and they had to kind of find a hiding spot. This used to be one of them. We all tell the same story of the same duel because we can prove that it happened, but we're not doing campfire marshmallow stories like the other two lately. So we're going to be going into a little bit more detail. So here's how the story goes. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. There's your first RI. So he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of the cash flow. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's cash. By the way, the doctor's full name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. If you two back there actually hear the song Brown Eyed Girl come through, it's not coincidence. We get it here all the time. It's part of the name. Ladd.
Okay. Because I had B-L-A-D a minute ago. I was like, me and her were laughing about it.
Oh. You still heard a very close phonetic sounding to his name. So it's close, but no cigar. Oh man, here he comes to ask how our ghost hunting's going.
Yeah, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? I ain't going to ask about no ghosts. I ain't trying to encounter none. I tell you what, thought my people's NASCAR going down that street.
So anyway, back to the doctor. Dr. Ladd moves down here to prove that he's not after Amanda's money, and the coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a good start to his stay in Charleston. I know history's long here, I'm sorry.
Someone's here.
But anyway, somebody was walking by and seeing exactly what was about to happen, how Dr. Ladd was about to be killed. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I'll stop there because he has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Ralph Isaacs, Rhode Island. Need a secondary clue. We were getting RI all the time on your spirit boxes, so I bought that device to see if we were actually getting letters from it. So I've had the thing for 5 to 6 months now, and we've had it about half a dozen times as I'm telling this part of the story. So take that for what it's worth. Now, Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy. He's going to try to kill you. Come with me to 59 Church Street. 59 is a prominent number for your spirit boxes. And we'll have a group of ladies passing by. So once they get here, I'll stop and we'll split the seeds. You got it. But anyway, so he says, let's go to 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from these friends of mine and you'll be safe and good to go. Dr. Ladd took him up on the offer. They became friends. The longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. He's proving his point that he's not after Amanda's money. Amanda gets wind of this and she's moving down so they can get married. Dr. Ladd became known as the whistling doctor because he's a pretty happy guy. This is the 1700s where men actually whistled all the time. Let's go ahead and let them pass through. Come on through, ladies. How are we doing?
Thank you. Good, how are you? Sorry.
That's fine. You're fine. Perfect walkthrough. So, So I will tell you that every tour that comes down here will tell their guests to stop and listen for the whistles, because they say you can hear the whistles from the doctor down here. Beauty of this for you is that we have 3 video cameras recording and my voice recorder. If there's going to be a whistle, it'll be recorded, so you don't have to like actually stop and listen. But anyway, back to the doctor and Ralph. They go see plays together. That's why I said when she said plague, did she say play or plague? So they used to go see plays together, and they couldn't sit next to each other because the doctor made more money. So that's just kind of how the hierarchy worked. He got better seats. That's how it goes. So, hi guys. So they go see Richard III one night, and they're on their way home, and they're talking about the new actress that was in town, and Dr. Ladd thought she was great, but Ralph didn't. The argument turns into Ralph insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island, Amanda. It's very ugly, and they go their separate ways. He's basically ripping on his girlfriend. So, Ralph has friends around here, and he goes to his friends at the newspaper, and he tells the newspaper to put an ad in it to tell the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society kind of mentality. Dr. Ladd saw the ad and rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. Somebody's going to die. So they came down, they took their 10 paces away from each other, they turned, the doctor pointed his gun in the air and shot. He didn't want to kill his friend, just needed the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. So Ralph has his one bullet, and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. Dr. Ladd didn't die, he drops to the ground, where his friends picked him up. They took him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later on November 2nd of 1786. So, he refused medical treatment during those 10 days. I'm going to point out that the guy's a doctor. Gunshot wounds in 1786 are a lot different than gunshot wounds today. So he's probably just trying to bleed out the lead poisoning himself. So kind of a creepy thought on all that, but to him bleed it out. So again, like I said, every tour tells you to listen for the whistles. On our spirit boxes, we've gotten the word whistle. We've had whistling parts of songs show up, just the whistling part, like a quick little, again, I don't find that stuff coincidence. So think of like Guns N' Roses' Patience, there's a whistling part. The Moves Like Jagger song has a whistling part. These are just things that we've gotten in the past. We get a lot of clues relative to the space. The 59, the doctor's birthday will show up, which obviously I didn't even talk about. So we'll kind of see how this goes. But if you're going to try this on your own, I don't know how long you guys are going to be in town, and you're going to walk all the way through here and turn on your voice recorders from your phones to see if you can get a whistle out of that. Just keep in mind, every local knows the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street throws a whistle down this alley. I do it every single night anyway, or at least when I used to park down the street, especially since I got kicked out of here. Let's talk about that, because that's the fun part of the story. All of a sudden, everybody's ears perked up like, oh shit, Nick got in trouble. But anyway, the alley didn't go all the way through this way. So there was a wall halfway between us and Cumberland Street. So that means the bricks on the other side are older than the bricks we're standing on. So that means those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child down there, along with fingerprint swipes and others. I'd always take people down there to kind of show off the history of, like, this is how far away we've come from slavery. Like, it was a big history moment for us. So, November 26th of 2020, my entire group of 10 is huddled around that brick waiting for something to happen. I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. That's the last place you're going to find that kid. So, I'm trying to shoo him along because it's also outside the dining room window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I was just trying to be respectful. I didn't realize I was out of bounds. The new owner came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because she was on the tour that night and her dad's getting yelled at. We moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't work Thanksgiving because I worked in retail management before this, mainly for Walmart for a good part of 20 years. You guys get my point? Why I'm never going to work at Thanksgiving again in my life. So, all thanks to you guys, all you shoppers out there. So, but anyway, the next day was November 28th. I called my partner that I had at the time that was teaching me about tourism and basically told him what happened. He said, dude, you can't go down that far. You're allowed to go down halfway or you got to reroute the group. So, I decided that night, I'm going to reroute the group and just avoid this altogether. What I told my team was, I don't believe in this next space because I've never had anything happen there. I don't believe it's haunted, but we'll see what happens. Plus, I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. Before we left, somebody heard the name Anne on a spirit box. I didn't tell them who we were going to be investigating. The famous female pirate Anne Bonny. So I went, oh shit, maybe we are going to get something. Somebody else, once we got over there and I told them the little bit I did know about pirates, tickets were much cheaper and I could wing it back then. But anyway, somebody else heard the number 300. I don't know what that means. I write it down. I researched it the next morning. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So, you guys are looking at me like, ooh, that's exciting. No, that was shoulder shrumped because here's my problem with pirates. Most pirate stories are based off of lore. I have a master's degree in creative writing and a bachelor's degree in journalism and English. I need facts and data in order to make sure what we're talking about is accurate. So I will tell you that half my library, I've read more damn books on pirates than I ever wanted to in my entire life, trying to make sure what we talk about here is accurate as I can possibly make it. It is also a hit or miss location, which is also why I kind of blend these two spaces together and why we get the bleed over from here over there. So we are going to be discussing pirates at the next location, but it's a 50-50 shot that she's even going to be there at the exact same time that we are. Hopefully you're going to get bleed over from here and her part of the story to see if we can actually get out of it. Those steady lights out of there are coming from the lampposts. Just so you know, anything steady or a full rhythm, like a steady pulse, is a man-made object. That's part of the reason of how I use that. Have you gotten anything in here? Because your baseline should be a 7 based on the lampposts that come up. And anybody hear anything before we leave the space and go talk about pirates? Wow, nothing? Any letters?
I heard air quality.
EGP. Air quality?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
that's because y'all are smoking. I joke because I'm a smoker too. Alright, so are we ready to go learn about rated R pirates and see what we can get? For those of you with video cameras, if you want to keep them running, by all means do so. That is another popular corner for other tours that pass by. We're just going to stay out of their way and go find our corner. Again, I always like to take us way to the back of that space so we can get started. But let's see what we can get out of it. Did you get any footage down here at all? Great, so we have no footage from the building. You're fired. No, I'm kidding.
You didn't have it on?
From over there?
From here.
Here.
That's okay. Alright, let's go learn about some crazy pirates. You guys are a quiet group. I gotta get you guys around this spot.
Well, it makes sense.
You had
They
your
played. I
I
turned it
was
off.
trying to tell you to put it in front of you.
I know.
Because I'm supposed to be recording it. That's the only way he hears it, is if I record it. Oh, they're quiet. Thank you.
I felt that I could just been like,
Got into it, yeah.
I know, she's all about it. She's like, there's people walking, there's ghosts following us.
Super excited now.
So we are here for that little building, which is part of the reason why I started to take us over there. But again, I tell you a little bit of a different history of it. So that's the gunpowder magazine. We've already had POWD. I'm stoked that Nate actually had something, and he's a little shocked. Like, oh shit, I screwed it up.
He's a believer now.
He might be. Well, he might be by the end of it.
There.
Getting closer. So anyway, this building it's an interesting piece. First off, you need to know that those are not crosses on that building. Those are earthquake bolts. If you're not familiar with earthquake bolts, you guys haven't taken tours here yet, it's basically a set of turnbuckles. It goes all the way through the roof, so if we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1886 that I've already mentioned earlier, you can turn those turnbuckles and it tightens the building so it doesn't incur any further damage. So it's a great idea, it just doesn't work. So the reason I bring it up is because that's the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in. The reason why is because that's the oldest government building we have here in South Carolina, finished in 1713. So you guys are from South Carolina, so that's older than where you guys are from. And we're going to be talking about Columbia later on too, so that's going to be interesting for you. Anyway, we're here because this building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny came here to start a new life. This is what I call a familiar. For those of you that watch the TV shows and YouTubers, they use that little teddy bear gadget to attract the child ghost. It's the same principle. They use that so that way the child ghost has something familiar and playful to be able to work with. We don't have many buildings this old. This is just something Anne Bonny would recognize. So kind of keep that in mind why I said it's hit or miss. We do have other buildings somewhat close to this age, just not as old. Let's get into it. The building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. But anyway, the history actually begins right in the middle of it, 1708. You guys got to follow me on this one because there's a lot of twists. I will slow down on the twists. Young lady moves here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Are you guys with me so far? His girlfriend's Anne's mom. The three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. How pissed off was the wife that they had to leave the country by boat to come here? Just pointing that out. But anyway, they landed in Georgetown. That's just between us and Myrtle Beach, in case you're unfamiliar with South Carolina. It's about an hour north of here. Anyway, Dad bought a plantation there, and Mom died pretty quickly as soon as they got here. That means he has to send young Anne down here to be able to sell anything from the plantation to help keep things afloat. Hence the familiar building. Now, Anne back home in Ireland was said to be a badass even back in Ireland. At the age of 7, 8, 9, how old is Peyton?
7.
Okay, so Peyton is 7. I want you guys to picture Peyton in this scenario. They say Anne killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly. So we have had the term servant knife belly show up on 3 different spirit boxes without the other 2 people knowing what the other person heard. So take that for what it's worth. It is a rumor, but when I get confirmation like that, It does happen. Anyway, fast forward. The building's done in 1713. Pirates are starting to come through Charlestown in 1715. Anne is stoked because she's going to fall in love so she can earn her freedom just like a man. It's a man's world at this point, and she wants her freedom. So, first guy she falls in love with. I said first because there's a handful, and we're going to go through them. So that's the interesting part of the story. First guy is James Bonney. You already see where this one's going because we've already mentioned her pirate name. Dad didn't approve. He's a filthy pirate. They ran away to Jamaica. They got married. Anne Cormac became Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. However, James Bonney is not Captain Jack Sparrow like what she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer. He's a spy for the British. In other words, he's a coward. This is not who Anne wants, so she falls in love a few years later. This is guy number 2, John Rackham. They call him Calico Jack. This is the guy that they based your Johnny Depp character off of, just so you guys know who the hell this guy is. He has his own ship and his own crew. Anne wants to be part of the crew, but you can't put a girl on a pirate crew because it's bad luck. So, he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like my crew, see, I was right. See all those tours going over there? And that's actually just one tour. I shouldn't say all those tours. That's one group. But anyway, if you dress like a guy, look like the crew, you can be part of it. But you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this. Why? Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her from his wife. She gets it. It's a man's world. Most of us are adults here. Let's put 2 and 2 together. She's going to be a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to know that she's a girl. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby here, come back later, and we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns without a child. We have no idea what happened to that baby, even with all the amount of research I've done on pirates. But she also comes back dressed as a female. This makes Jack pretty pissed off. He captured another pirate crew. They're down below deck. To make Jack even more mad, Anne's going to go flirting with that pirate crew to make him pretty ticked off. We're on guy number 3, in case you lost track. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy, to be part of the crew that Calico Jack captured. Now we have 2 females, just like males, on the same ship. Her name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. Her and Mary became friends, possibly lovers. We're not going to really know for sure, but the British found out where they are. They send a fleet of ships to come take down one measly little pirate ship.
Funny.
The rumor is that Anne and Mary were the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks. Probably because they didn't know how to use cannons yet, haven't been pirates for very long. You get the point. 2 ladies with flintlocks are not going to take on a whole Navy ship fleet. You get my point. They get arrested. As they're being arrested, Anne looks at her beau and captain, Calico Jack, and she says, "Jack, I'm so sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up here on your spirit boxes a lot. You may even get it spelled out because it's nice and short. I'll be very interested to see if that actually happens now that I brought it up, because it's never happened.
I got Ben.
Ben?
B-E-N.
Oh, that's interesting. We'll see.
I had 406 earlier, and then separately 7.
I'm going to talk about 7 before we leave. Because we're going to see what else comes up with that. The 406 is also interesting, but not.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I was
Really random.
going through like the dates in my head, so I look at that as April 6th.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of get my point.
Yeah.
Anyway, the judge wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly on their own after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk pirates that wouldn't fight. The 2 ladies go in front, reveal their gender, hoping to save themselves. Judge doesn't give a shit that they're female. He's still going to hang them. They're still pirates. They scream out, "We plead our bellies," which means they're claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. They're trying to save themselves even further. He says fine. He delays the hanging, sends them both back to jail. Dad is still up here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne. Brings her home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4. We're going to count Mary. We don't really know. And she has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Now, Mary Reed, I know, and that's a very abrupt ending for Mary. For Anne, because we don't know much about her after her pirate career. Mary Reed died 5 months later in April. That's why I was looking at that 406 that she just said. And it was April 21st, if I'm not mistaken. So she died then from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Most books will tell you that it was something simple like fever. I'm going to say bullshit. Let's call it scurvy. It's romantic, right? We're talking pirates. So let's really liven it up. So you guys know how to ask questions by now. I'm not going to assign questions, but I'll kind of throw out a few things that I left out on purpose. So I left out, I'll give you an easy one at first, Anne Bonny's hair color. It is red, so you can ask about that. We do get that here often. The city that she grew up in Ireland. So I didn't mention that city specifically. It has been coming up more and more. I also left out the name of Anne Bonny's parents. I called them the father and the mistress. I do know the names. Let's see if we can find them. Last but not least, Calico Jack's ship. So I left that out on purpose. So if you want to ask what the ship name was, we'll see how that actually turns out. Anything else you want to ask? This is not a prominent English woman like we were dealing with Eliza Pinckney. Poke the bear a little bit here. Stay out of the way of the other tours, the vehicles, you guys get the point, but we're going to stay within this lot. EMF detection. So Matthew, on your end, this is not the Pinckney Mansion site where we're going to get even a 7 to a 40, anywhere in between there. You get anything on this back half, I'm going to be super stoked. On the front half, you're getting closer to 2 electrical poles and parking meters on the other side of the bushes. So again, you're probably going to see little spikes between like 2 and 5. I'm going to debunk those right off the top. It's usually this back half where we get excited about anything. The Ouija board is interesting in here. We're going to see what happens with that. I'm going to see if the word dog actually shows up. But everybody else, you guys got the gist of how to use your devices. But yeah, let's just stay out of the way of the other tourists, because they'll look at you like you're a bunch of weirdos. And I don't need the other tourists going, "What's Nick doing? What you doing now?" Kind of stuff. Because that does happen. You can smoke anywhere in here if you want to. Yeah, you're all good.
I was about to say, I'm going to go over there, I think. Well, I have to record you.
Start over on this side?
No, I kind of want to go over there.
Well, I'll tell you what. Either way.
And I think I'm going to go over here and sit down, actually.
Coming up anything.
I smell weed. Yeah, actually, I've looked them up before, because I know I was a pirate in my past life, and Calico Jack was actually much more spontaneous and all that than Jack Sparrow was. I'm actually going to take a seat, if you want to come take a seat.
Yeah, you can take a seat.
Because I am going to poke the bear. Well, I need to
Tell you it's recording audio.
It is not. This is not record audio.
And?
Mom.
Okay, hold on. What was that song?
No, that's not.
I don't.
He told me to record your audio.
Okay, you're recording it.
No, it's
Well,
not.
I don't want to sit down. If I sit down, it's going to be hard to get up.
I will be back up.
And? And what was your parents' name? What's your father's name?
Fine. I'll get back up.
Yeah, it's not I'm sorry.
Hi, Ann.
Oh, she's a pirate too. You talk to her like a pirate. Hey, Ann, what is your father's name?
What am I supposed to do? Go art, matey?
Maybe.
It's the lady.
How's this going over here, lady? What do we got
good.
coming out of there?
Just a lot of static right now.
This is a weird space, for sure. Again, very big hit or miss. We never know what's going to come up. But as far as that one goes, one of the first nights, like, we get very prominent things that come out of here when it does happen. So one of the first nights I used that guy, somebody keeps trying to hack into my Microsoft account. But it keeps getting all these notifications. Hey, sign in. I'm packing things up because this used to be my last stop. It's not anymore. We're going to go to another place. But I'm packing it up. They had a really light night, like very disappointing on their end. So they're kind of like waiting for me to wrap things up. And I take that device from the person and it says pirate, plain as day. So it wasn't like part of like, hey, the Pittsburgh Pirates won the game kind of mentality. It was literally like, I'm a pirate. And we all heard it. And the person with the thermal imaging camera was standing right next to them. So we had it on recording. So we were all like super stoked. We finally had something happen that night. And it was like we were wrapping things up for the entire evening. So it was just an interesting piece. But I love that spirit box. It's actually when I take that to another investigation, the other teams are always like, oh, you have the SB11. And they're like, how is that? I'm like, it's basically better than your, what is that, the contraption they make, the Echo box where they put an amplifier and all that stuff next to it. You know what I'm talking about? I can't think of the name of it.
I'd have to see it probably to know what you're talking about. I'm a visual person.
Yeah, they all love using
This
that.
is really cool though. I don't think I've seen one of these.
So that's, have you seen the little guy that they use on the TV shows?
Just the
That's an
like
SB7.
the record.
This is the upgraded model. So it's an SB7 on the little guy. That's an SB11 with an adjustable noise control.
I think it's really cool though that they're just using song lyrics and stuff to kind of communicate.
Well, that's how I operate. I can make it go faster and make it sound just like the TV ones. I just like when you guys are doing this for the first time, it's a lot easier to learn how to do this because again, you're only going to get 4 or 5 disembodied voices a year. I do this at least 200 times a year. So again, I'm working that much. So again, 200 nights a year, I might get 4 or 5 things out of it. That's not a good ratio. I'd rather you guys pick up on things from, it's not a coincidence that you heard Dr. Ladd's birthday or Ann's number of children, or you know what I mean, those kind of things. It's not a coincidence. You heard it for a reason, especially when I see the same patterns night after night after night.
Yeah, you probably heard me talk like, that's funny when you mentioned Mary Reed, because I'm a writer too. And the protagonist in a movie script I'm writing, her name is Mary Reed. And that's why I couldn't help but laugh about that. And actually, before I started researching pirates, so when I saw that we were going to, in the previous stories you'd done, like Anne Bonny, when you mentioned Calico Jack, I actually knew that Jack Sparrow was based on Calico Jack's eye, and I'd read all of his actual stories. And so I know he was like much more spontaneous and outgoing than the way Jack Sparrow actually was.
Want to keep your research going? There's a TV show called Black Sails. As close and as accurate as you can imagine with piracy is in that TV show. Calico Jack is in there, Benjamin Hornigold, Charles Vane, all the major. Did you hear dog?
I heard dog.
Nice. Told you.
I heard dog, heart attack, and 628.
Over there while y'all were talking, I heard 29 come through.
29, 628.
There was something that you heard. It sounded like it said end of the something, something, end of something, end of the something.
Anything coming up on your end, boss?
It was right after he come up and started
But
talking to us.
nothing.
It was something end of something of the something. I don't remember the first and the last word. It was after you came up and started talking to us. But no, the reason I started looking up pirates is because I know in my past life that I was one. And what's funny is I think it was Anne. And I don't know if it was that specific Anne or the other Anne, because there was another Anne that was a pirate.
I'm just trying, I don't know where this van's going. I'm trying to stay out of their way. And I lost the other two ladies. Where the hell did they go?
They were that way.
And people get really weirded out when they're filming and their cars are nearby. That's why I'm like, oh, let's get out of their way.
For sure.
And the other tours, they didn't pay to get filmed, so I try not to, do that kind of jerk move. And you do this long enough, you start to see the other tours looking at you like, what the hell? You get that look.
Especially
all the
with the
time.
equipment.
Right.
Well, and that's the one thing we wanted to do. We wanted to do something more interactive, and then not just that normal tour.
Well, I will tell you, there are other tours in America that use very cheap equipment, make you rent it, that kind of thing. I'm the only tour in America that goes to what you guys are doing today. I'm going to give you all the raw data back. I don't alter anything. I give you my findings, spot check it, and it just stays on my website for the entire year. You guys go out at your leisure, and you can look at anybody's. If you want to go back and look at another date, it's there. I'm not hiding
We
it.
were talking about experiences earlier, and you were talking about with epilepsy, you can't handle extreme, physically nauseating experiences.
It'd be more migraine style. Work.
And I've had one that's probably would give you a seizure before. I've had two. One, I was in a cemetery, and because I can, like I said, I can feel them before I see them, and I could tell there was a little girl there. She was probably somewhere between 4 and 6, and you could feel she was terrified. There's another guy that was there. He was older. You could feel the evil off of him, and that she was telling me, you could tell, communicating with me somehow, that he had been her uncle, and that he'd probably been the one that killed her, that he had definitely sexually assaulted her while she was alive, and then when I left, she was terrified that I was leaving, somehow I was keeping him at bay.
Sure.
And then another experience, I was in, it's like a river, but it's like a camping site too. As a bridge. This thing was the most malicious thing I'd experienced, and it followed us miles away from the area, while we were driving, and it felt like it was gripping my throat. I forced my friend to leave this area because it had a hold on me that was making me so sick that I just wanted to throw up and felt so weak, I could not stand.
what actually happened here and why I did that this morning. I told that.
Hi, Anne.
Yeah.
What happened to your child? I heard you had a child.
I definitely felt strong.
She is not talking. I swear, 2 come through, because I asked how many children did you have? 2. 1.
Did they die?
Shot, church.
Did your child die?
No.
No. Did you give them away?
Did you give your child away? And did you give your child away? She didn't answer now. I think she said yeah. 1
shot. I heard doctor, but I couldn't hear what was after doctor.
Oh, I don't want to stand next to her with this.
I told you we're going to get bleed
Oh
over.
no, I feel it. It's right there. It was like,
Yeah, and we're Philadelphia Alley.
I think we got an answer he was looking for finally.
That's why I said we get bleed over.
yeah.
I thought of her too.
I did hear it, Charleston.
Well,
I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah, I
maybe
throw
that
those
just
out.
comes out. Like,
Well, it comes out a lot because
She-
we
well-
radio.
okay.
So I just told him that.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's why I didn't say it. But
Remember?
I heard in the middle twice.
Did you give them away?
It occurred. I can't prove that. But
right.
I might be getting some specific correction of where it occurred. Anything else out of there? Nothing.
She said yeah.
Just weird that she got all of that and you only had the one.
I thought I heard her say that at one point.
A heart attack and heart problems earlier.
Yeah, I got all.
Oh, we did have that too. Yep, we had a heart. It was a health issue. It said health issues.
I don't know how Anne died. I mean,
so fast.
First off, she was 84 in the 1700s. That's older than Eliza. That's really old. So I don't know what she died from, whether it was a heart attack or a heart issue. There's no record of it anywhere because we don't know exactly what she was. But yeah, let's hit over.
We got your answer.
What?
And child.
What is it?
Right after we stopped talking and we were walking right here, we asked about her child.
And?
They did not die, but when we tried to ask her if she gave them away, she just stopped talking. She didn't answer.
So it's more like a real-time moment kind of thing.
Like she just
And I
felt
will
bad
say
about
when
it and didn't
people
want to
do
answer.
ask about that specific child, the one in Cuba, they will get things like, she stayed, or, along those lines, things that will tell us that the child didn't die. So to my assumption of what has been heard here in the past, you're correct. So the child may not have died in childbirth, but may have lived and she left the baby behind. So I don't like to call babies its, like to me that's just weird. But she may have just left the baby behind and so forth and so on. So again, real-time moment. So you did get a silence of when you know what I mean? So it's not like you got an answer, but you more got a reaction. If that makes sense. That's what I call a real-time moment. So let's go over to this wall a little bit further. We're going to cover these answers and tell you about our last case, because it's definitely going to be weird. Not what we've been doing. It's going to be a lot different than any readings at all. This was, let's experiment, let's get the new space of the year. So I brought 2 young ladies in here, and on the spirit box, the young lady heard the year 1828 and the name Henry. I used a digital word generator. It actually gave me the name Tim. This bust is Henry Timrod, born in 1828. So I went, well, there's my ghost. So, quick history, he's a writer, and obviously he was old enough to go fight in the Civil War, being born in 1828. So he goes to fight for the Confederates. His comrades realize he's too sick to fight. So they sent him home, knowing he was a writer, and said, go be the voice of the war. They basically wanted him to come home and start writing about what was going on in the battlefield, which is what he did in poetic format. So he wrote poems. He became known as the Laureate of the Confederacy. So it's a pretty big title for us writers. But anyway, he has a son as a few years go by. But you guys are going to know about the son. They're not. His name was Willie. He was born on Christmas Eve, and he died 9 months later. Very tragic. Now, a couple more years go by. He's still mourning his son, Willie. His comrade from school realizes he's not publishing as much as he was before. So he says, go out to my cottage in Columbia, and you can actually go finish working on the piece you're supposed to be working on. Leave your wife, Katie, behind to mourn with her parents. So he goes out there and writes his last words. His last words were, beholder of brief mortality. Then he coughs, and it lands on the page in a blood stain. So he had tuberculosis, just so you guys, in case you can catch on to that. By the way, beholder of brief mortality translates to person with a short life. So he died at the age of 38. he landed right on that page, and that's where he died. I will tell you that that blood stain is still on that page, and it looks like a man writing at his desk. They show this page one day a year at the Charleston Library Society on Halloween only, and you have to be a member of the society to be able to see the book. But the internet's beautiful. I'm going to show you what the page looks like, and then we're going to go try to talk to Henry, to the two ladies sitting on the bench. You guys are getting the point. I'm giving you just enough so we have enough to work with. So let me show you that blood stain, and then we will go and get to work. So this is the page that he coughed on.
Wow.
I mean, you can see where it looks just like a man writing at his desk. So, see where it looks like a man writing at his desk? He looks like he's writing something down. So, very creepy stuff. We do call this the blood book. So the word.
That's the bloody spit out.
Yep, that's it right there. I blew it up for you, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty nuts. Good creepy story to end with, and let's see if we can get some kind of answers going out of these two ladies on the bench. So you're gonna
Looks
have to
like
help
spilled
out.
ink.
Okay. Don't need.
Well, you probably could have left it on there. He said when we got over here to turn it off.
Oh, right here.
Okay.
Want everybody to hear some pictures, I'm gonna have to hear you.
Okay.
So, first thing you guys need to know is,
You're recording?
yeah, everybody's gonna be recording,
Okay.
and we're all gonna stand really nice and
Camera on
tight.
them, buddy.
Okay.
So Natalia and Nate, I'm gonna have you guys actually help out your family members when we go to put the earmuffs on, because they're gonna be blindfolded already and won't be able to see everything. But a couple of things, I'm gonna be keeping an eye on your breathing. In the event you start getting a little too heavy on breathing or hyperventilating, a family member is going to tap you on the knee to take the headphones off and that kind of thing. You're going to take those off yourself. If you're speaking too loud, they'll tap you on the shoulder. That means quiet it down a little bit. Just whisper. We can hear you. So a lot of people get those headphones on, they can't hear anything, and they're shouting at us. So the other piece too is it's also okay to answer yes/no questions. You have no idea what questions I'm going to be asking. If you hear yes or no, feel free to answer it. But you're not going to know the questions because you're not going to hear me. You literally have to tell us everything you're hearing in real time. Don't forget to talk. So some people put these earmuffs on and they're just like, am I supposed to remember everything for 10 minutes? No, say it out loud. We're going to have it on audio for you. The other piece too, I just had something in my head. I forgot what it was. But who has the recordable one? Amber, that's yours, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop your recording, so if I can hand that to me. Again, I'm not going to touch your leg. We're going to stop it and restart it so you guys have a separate audio from just this session. And I still spot check this guy a little bit more in detail than I do the rest of the first recording, if that makes sense. So let's put it up here. All right, so family members, get ready because you're going to have to help. Oh, I'm only going to keep you under for 10 minutes. The reason why any more than that is going to get a little disorienting. Like you'll start to sway a little bit, so it does get a little weird. All right, so blindfolds first.
So can I tap her elbow for too
Put
loud
these on too,
and
first.
knee for taking the
Shoulder
headphones
for
off?
too low. Put these
No,
on
I'm
too,
saying
right?
shoulder some.
Blindfold first, though.
No, but, okay.
All right.
And yeah, we're going to get in nice and
No.
tight here, guys. So
Make sure you're videoing it.
too loud.
Step back
And then
and
if I
put
say
both
tap
of
them
them.
out, it's on.
I think I'll sit down.
And then earbuds after your blindfold.
Yeah, because I'll be able to
Get to a
hold this better
comfortable
for 10
volume,
minutes straight.
and do not touch
Okay.
your spirit box once you set your volume. We want to make sure you're not cheating. I've had teenagers try to cheat at this.
I'm gonna sit right there in front of where you're seeing.
Okay, once they got their earbuds in, so Nate, you're going to help her put those on top of her head. I'll take your Ouija board, or he can take it. Doesn't matter. All right. Put your earmuffs on for her. Take your camera. Oh, wow, she's on it. That's a first. I'm doing this for over a month. This hasn't happened where she just jumped right in.
She's ready. She's
11:15.
excited.
Again, we're only going to go for 10 minutes. You got your volume already set?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what? Recording.
Tap her on the shoulder.
Good.
A little bit tighter, guys. We want to make sure. Let's go ahead and get a stand up. I want to make sure we're covering them.
Enjoy.
Keep an eye on that guy. I want to make sure things answered. Let's go to that as well. Okay, we are looking to speak to Henry Timrod. If you are here with us, we would like to hear what your occupation
Find
is.
the religion.
What is your occupation?
Being.
Henry Timrod, we need you to come through. These two young ladies on the bench can hear you. Can you tell us what your occupation is, please?
Offer wedding. Uncles. Outside. Pool. We got more. $1,000.
Henry, there's a lot coming through here. None of it's making sense. Wait for that plane to go by. Henry, you did say the word religious. Can you tell us what church is nearby? I'm trying to get proof that they're actually
Use
here.
your name.
What was the name? What's the name of the church?
Go.
Come on, Amber, give us something.
Tree.
Henry Timrod, tell us the name of the church that is across the street, please. I should slow down. Henry, we're going to let you lead the way. So, do you want to talk about your family, your career?
Red stripe.
Family, career, your death, any of those things are subject.
Lonely. Stop.
We're not stopping yet. We just started, Henry.
Have a penalty. Get made. Genetics.
Williams.
What was the son's name? Anybody remember?
Willie.
It's named after Henry's father, William.
Henry.
Henry, can you tell us your occupation? You just gave us your name and your father's name.
Life is
Tap on your shoulder for me.
under
Henry.
morning routine.
Henry, we need something
Decade.
specific.
Top.
We got your name, and I appreciate that. Can you?
Aaliyah. He called me way before.
Henry Timrod, tell us your occupation, please. Looks like you're giving more answers to Miss Amber here. She's on my right-hand side.
Freak for nights.
Can you tell us what just happened, Henry? What did we just hear?
Only
What did we just hear? What happened? You guys see how I'm using real-time moments to try to get...
from within test.
Can you tell us what that person just did, Henry, that we just heard a minute ago?
Call now. Dream. Thank 'em. Champions.
Okay, Henry, we'll get back to you.
Look at my
specifically.
garages. $199.
Henry, tell us your wife's name. Seems like you're giving us a lot of names tonight. Can you
You're
tell
mine.
what was your wife's name?
Support. Not in the bedroom.
5 minutes they've been under, just so you guys know. 5 to go.
First place I ever feel.
Henry Timrod.
I heard 911.
You're not.
Henry Timrod, tell us your wife's name, please.
You're supposed to forget.
Well, this is how I learn about you, Henry. You're supposed to be teaching me something.
You lost me.
Do we have somebody else here with us tonight, Henry? That's a yes-no formatted question. Is somebody else
You
here?
want to be with me?
Is somebody else here with you?
Recruiter. Master. Strike. It was affecting me in my life.
I've never had any. So do you not want me to ask about the other people that might be here? That's a yes-no question. Should I be asking about them?
One guide, one stage. Was shot at the crack.
Good job.
My friendly friends had gotten forgotten.
Okay, so which friend do you want us to know about? Was it your college friend that invited you to his cottage? His name was Paul.
Who
by the
has
way.
lost?
What was your friend's name where you actually went out to his cottage and wrote your last words?
A lot of needles. Enemy breaking. I died suddenly.
Yes, you did. Your breathing's getting a little heavy.
I was about to say she looks sick.
Watching you.
She getting pale? Your breathing's just getting a little heavy there for a minute.
Really good topics.
Henry.
Relieve
Follow
that
you.
I know you're not going to follow me.
for you.
You're going to stay right here in Charleston where you belong. Why don't you tell us how you died?
It's all worth it.
How did you die?
I heard no.
Repair, impress. Sudden.
Henry, tell us how you died. You're looking for the letters TB on there, Mr. Nate.
They find us.
She just said no.
Identical.
I've got no.
Do you really?
Slay.
Take care of us.
Well, I'm trying to be respectful here, Henry, but you're not giving us many answers. We did.
So many times.
We got your first name. We got your father's name. I tried to get other names from you.
I stirred up more.
Yes, I'm stirring things up.
No one wants to see November 26th. 0%. 24 months.
24 months. Do you guys remember when Willie was
48
born?
Cost.
Wow. Big grab bag coming out of her.
Nobody's sitting.
The people that are sitting, those are the people you need to communicate through. They can hear you.
Taking this nation.
Henry, I'd really like for you to tell us how you passed away. How did you die, Henry?
Ready
This
to
top
quit.
half.
Do you
It
want us
says
to stop? That's a yes/no
G
question.
and a 0. Keep saying
Do you want us to stop?
McCarthy.
You can answer yes or no. Do you want us to stop? You said ready to quit.
We shop.
Should we stop trying to communicate with you tonight?
JC. Look over.
It's been almost 9 minutes, just so you guys know.
I got mine.
Henry Timrod, one last chance. Feel free to answer any of those specific questions that I asked
Dance one day.
about your family, your career, the names of your
The
family,
case saw.
how you died.
Case before you went away.
She's trying to keep her balance. Let's go ahead and tap her out. We'll wait for one more term from Amber.
Oh.
279.
279. Go ahead and tap her out. You feeling okay? You look like you're trying to keep your balance a little bit.
Yeah, I felt different times heart like racing. I mean, I was fine with it, but
Okay.
I felt like I could.
Well, I could see your breathing was getting real heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy feeling in the chest?
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's part of the disease of what the man had. That actually happened to a guest a few weeks ago. They came out and they're like, I can't catch my breath. I feel like I got this
Yeah,
burning
it's
in my
like
chest.
Really,
The gentleman we were trying to contact actually had tuberculosis.
Oh.
So, you, like, nonstop, holy cow. Like, haven't seen that yet, where somebody literally was just talking and talking and talking and talking.
Well, every time I've heard stuff this much,
Mhm.
but I like can't repeat everything I've been
Right.
hearing on every session. Like,
Exactly.
So much.
So, Amber, how were you feeling, by the way? Are you feeling okay?
Yeah.
Your breathing was perfectly fine. You were totally calm, which is good. You actually gave us probably the most answers. You did give us the person we're trying to contact's first name and his father's name. The ghost's name was Henry, and his father's name was William, which he named his son after, Willie. So, again, I was pretty excited about that. You gave us 24 months. Willie was born on Christmas Eve. So, we weren't asking about his birthday specifically. But again, why would we hear the number 24? So I would call this a slight success. So we did have a few answers. Let's go ahead and, you see the button next to your volume at the very top? Click that the opposite direction so it'll stop it. There you go. So now we have the full recording of what this actually occurred. So I do want Matthew and Nate to kind of take a quick lap around here, mainly in the grassy areas since we did have something going on here. We've gotten triple digits in here, so just kind of let me know what you find out of that, and we'll kind of see what we can get while I wrap up the rest of everybody else. So you can stay right here with Mom. She's like, yeah, I'm good with that. So I always like to make sure you guys are okay. Please don't get up right away, especially you because you were really...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were watching. We both kind
You
of...
look like you were about to get sick.
Oh.
And I even asked at one point, Natalia, like, does she look pale? I mean, she knows you better than anybody here, so we just wanted to make sure you're going to be okay. When she put your hands down, that to me feels like you're probably feeling like you're swaying underneath there. I'm like, yeah, we got to get her out of there. Because once you start, like, leaning, and that's when things can go a little haywire.
Yeah.
So this was an interesting one. So, again, I think this was slightly successful. Again, we don't know what we're going to find in Amber's recording. Overall, for the entire night, I would call this about an average of what I normally see, with a slight success at the end. And again, sometimes this is a complete dud, where you're just giving me a bunch of nothing. And again, it just happens. I can't make stuff up because you're the ones that are listening. But you'll get the entire session from all the different videos, plus my voice recorder was running, so you guys will know the full history of this gentleman, plus the links of the things that you guys told us. I usually, on my way back to the office, I write down the few things that stood out. I don't do it in real time, so that way I can stay focused on you guys get my point. But overall, I think we actually had a pretty decent night. For a Friday, I'll be honest, Fridays and Saturdays are usually the worst as far as activity goes because there's so much going on around. So Henry is actually kind of a timid ghost, like he's a little shy. It usually takes a few minutes for him to kind of get warmed up to us, but he's been doing better with that. So I've only been doing these sessions for like 2 months. So they've been either really fun or like, oh my god, nothing happened. So it just kind of happens that way. I'm going to start packing things up. I'm going to stop your guys' audio at this point, kind of give you an idea of how much data you're going to get back. Let me get into that, and then you guys can ask me a million more questions. And I don't time this other than this 10-minute session, which, by the way, did you feel like you guys were under for 10 minutes?
No, it was very fast.
Yeah, most people say like 2 to 3 minutes.
It was, yeah, did not feel like 10
That's
minutes
usually
at all.
the consensus. That's
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, you were under for, I mean, we pulled you up about 9.5 minutes. We gave her another 30 seconds or so. So 2 hours and 29 minutes. So you're definitely going to have close to that 8 to 9 hours worth of media coming back to you. Sorry, I always have to kind of go through and see what we're using because, again, the bag is different every night, depending on what I feel like.